Your twisted and ruined body goes down in a hail of bullets, and thus ends your life in the wasteland.
And as you can see, I am not dead!
Life has a weird way of surprising you sometimes. There are instances where things simply unfold in a way that makes you go, wow, what the fuck? You expected to win, but instead you lost. You expected the truth, and were told a lie. You expected a gash, and instead got a dick. Oftentimes surprises are pretty unpleasant. They can scare you, force you to change plans, but today we're talking about a relatively pleasant surprise. No, silly, Kojima did not scan Sydney Sweeney's feet into Metal Death Stranding 9 Guns of the Pachinko Machines. The day of judgment has not come yet. The Game Awards took place recently, and for some reason, were actually pretty good. They did some crazy shit like giving recipients time to speak and addressing issues in the games industry and having some pretty good reveals and holy shit, is that Elden Ring Fortnite? Oh my god, Miyazaki has done it again! We'll get to that, trust me. My own little circle of friends, who from now on I will be referring to as the Misbegotten, and I watch the awards show every year in anticipation. It's sort of a tradition for us. Now, my friends and I don't really look at games the same way. Not to say I see them in a way that is superior, most of the time. My point is, I like to see games as an art form. I've always been fascinated by the sheer potential that games have to tell stories, to shock and awe, to impart messages through their mechanics. Games that have a unique sense of identity, something they can truly call their own. Games that want to push the medium forward. And because of this, I'm heavily critical of games, because I care about them more than most, as weird as that might sound. For instance, I hate it when game trailers don't show off gameplay. Cinematic trailers, they're called. If you're selling me a movie, you show me a cinematic trailer, because that's what I'll be paying for and investing my time in, because it's a movie. And if you're selling me a game, you show me a gameplay trailer, because the gameplay is what I'll be investing my money and time in, because it's a goddamn video game. This is absolutely a nitpick, even for me, and I wouldn't completely write off a game on this account, but it's still annoying. Now, some might say, dude, all games have cinematic trailers, it's an established part of the industry. And to that I say, cope and seethe, sheep. Just because something is commonplace doesn't mean it's for the better. There's all sorts of normalized common shit that isn't necessarily good, like live service games, auto-tune, child slaves mining the cobalt that's used to make our phones, and Minecraft YouTubers being abusive child enjoyers. My point with all this is to illustrate that I'm very harsh on games. If you've watched my... let's face it, you probably haven't. Regardless, I'm usually pretty harsh overall, just trust that. Like I said, it's cause I care. And I am one of many different kinds of people who enjoy video games. For instance, I have a friend who enjoys games with very deep and technical mechanics, games that require lots of time to really get good at, and also games with extremely questionable longevity and functionality. Another one of the Misbegotten is someone with over 1,000 hours in Destiny 2, so I mostly just ignore his opinion. And another one of my friends is fucking John Helldiver. The more realistic the milsim is, the more money he is willing to just light on fire. The point of this seemingly irrelevant talk is to show that my friends and I aren't exactly like-minded people when it comes to video games, yet we all agreed. This Game Awards cooked. Well, at the very least, it was an improvement over the previous show, and the announcements and speakers stepped up where the awards sadly didn't, for the most part. I won't be going over everything, because I don't care about everything. Before getting into the games, let's talk about the layoffs in the room. I'm very glad that the Game Awards is finally addressing a very serious issue within the games industry. It shows they've matured, if only a little. Jeff Keighley got some flack last year for failing to bring it up, and now he's getting flack this year for bringing it up. Well, everyone's a critic. They brought in a new Game Changer award, and it went to a guy named Amir Satvat. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm happy to see a genuinely wholesome guy get recognition for doing something good. Alert! Alert! The alarms are blaring! He works for Tencent. That was what I was hit with in the days that followed the Game Awards. Well, being a business development director for Tencent isn't wrong on its own, because that would imply you assume every exec in the gaming industry is inherently a bad person, or at the very least is incapable of doing good things, which would be fucking stupid, right? However, since I'm an asshole, this did get my curiosity up, and I decided to look into him and his work in depth. Much more in depth than some of the people quote-unquote criticizing him did, since all the arguments I've seen against this guy fall apart the second you apply the most basic level of critical thinking to them. I'm telling you, I looked for any dirt on this guy, if he'd ever said some wild shit, if he'd ever done something terrible, if he'd ever jaywalked. Nada. I couldn't find shit. He said in his statement on Twitter that his employment at Tencent wasn't mentioned because it wasn't relevant, which is absolutely fucking fair. The point of the award was to shed light on a helpful resource for aspiring new developers or developers that were laid off, and going through all of that and then saying, by the way, I work for Tencent, would have taken away from what people should really be paying attention to. Apparently, people were also making anti-Semitic remarks to him, and in his statement he clarifies that only his wife is Jewish and would appreciate more accurate anti-Semitism moving forward. You are a actually, only my wife is a idiot. I'm not going to go too far into this because this isn't a drama channel and you have no idea how much restraint it takes not to. We're here to talk about games. And who knows, maybe this guy is secretly the revived Dark Lord Super Adolf Stalin with the end goal of convincing the entire populace that Funko Pops are a worthy investment. But I just don't see it, not with the chips that are down on the table right now. Assuming the worst in everyone is just as bad as assuming the best. It's worse, even. It doesn't make you an intellectual, and it doesn't make you a big, strong man. It makes you a narcissist, even though I know that sounds rich coming from me. With that out of the way, let's get to the games. And the This Looks Like Another Game award goes to Terraria. This is literally just Terraria. The Game Awards this year were a tiny bit longer than last year's, and as far as substance goes, this time it was filled, just like your mother. Sure, a lot of stuff wasn't really interesting to me, but hey, not every game is made for everyone. Most games aren't. Oh? Japanese shit? Sekiro 2? No way? No way? Fuck! Oh shit, Indiana Jones game. Yeah, I forgot that existed. And Harrison Ford even showed. Wait, is Todd Howard really tiny or is Troy Baker really tall? Nope, yeah, Todd's just a fucking leprechaun. And the Game I Can't Bring Myself to Give a Shit About award goes to Borderlands 4. I mean, at least they showed off a bit of gameplay. And it also seems like they learned that simply putting over 1 billion guns in the game isn't the fucking secret sauce. I've been a fan of Borderlands since I played Borderlands 2 back on my Xbox 360, and I even enjoyed 3 for a time. But 3 also revealed to me that Borderlands had stopped iterating and started spinning its wheels. They decided to simply add more shit to the game to draw people's attention rather than taking a risk and evolving their formula. It's hard to be interested in a series when they've stopped trying to make it better. Hell, I think they made it worse. And the award goes to... I'll be keeping an eye on this one for sure. It's a Naughty Dog game, so if I use their previous games as reference, it'll probably look pretty, have a story that would have been better off as a show or movie, and lackluster, uninspired gameplay. And I will most likely buy it. Regardless, I just think Naughty Dog's games are severely overrated. They don't really take advantage of video games as a medium, and I've never really been impressed with their gameplay. It feels like it kinda just fills in time between cutscenes. With that being said, this is bullshit. This is not criticism of video games. I made a video on Stellar Blade, and in it I talked about how unproductive it was to reduce a video game to the appearance of the protagonist simply because she was extraordinarily attractive, and I can make the same argument in reverse here. Judging a game on its own merits involves, like, maybe waiting for gameplay at least. I feel like that's pretty reasonable. However the devs want to make the protagonist is up to them, and until we actually know more about this game, bitching about this is, frankly, profoundly sad. Step outside, look into the sun, and melt. The Last of Us 2 PC port remastered. Yep, yeah, remastered. So to clarify, The Last of Us 2 remastered is getting a PC port. Please stop calling games remasters when they hardly enhance the game visually. It was scummy when they did this with Dark Souls as well. The only significant change is the roguelike mode, which should have just been a free DLC. Was there another game that did that without trying to get more money from their players, just a show of goodwill? Wasn't it also a PlayStation game? game. A remaster is Halo Anniversary, it's System Shock, it's fucking Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 and 2 remastered, even they got this right. If I can't tell the difference at a glance, you really shouldn't be selling it as a remaster, you hacks. And let's say they did genuinely significantly improve the game's appearance, remastering a game that's not even 5 years old, if that was indeed the case, would be pretty redundant, especially for a game that looks as good as The Last of Us 2. Hell, Bloodborne will be turning 10 years old pretty soon and we haven't gotten shit for that game. Not that I'm defending this decision, running exclusively in 30 FPS for a game with this much artistic beauty is simply unacceptable. Just remake the damn game already. Hey, Sony, money? You like money, don't ya? Bloodborne Remake is basically free money. I want Bloodborne on PC, and I want game companies to stop misleading their customers. Call it what it is, a director's cut, an enhanced edition, or simply a game mode that you should not have to pay extra for. And the Hideo Kojima award goes to Hideo Kojima. Thank you, Hideo Kojima. And Harrison Ford is here, and he might be getting pretty old. Shit, Game of Thrones video game. Why does this look like a mobile game ad? And King's Road, that even sounds like a mobile game.
How many awards I'd won. Something kept nagging at me, forcing me to snap out of my reverie. I was here to do a job. Hand out the award for
what the
best
fuck am I
narrative.
watching? I didn't play Alan Wake, so Sam Lake is unfamiliar to me. Crimson Desert is probably good, and I have no genuine complaints about it, but for some reason it struck me as the most generic, uninspired game since modern Fortnite, so I'll pass. The Best Action Game award goes to Black Myth Wukong. Honestly, Stellar Blade got shafted so many times, I was just happy to vote for it once. I'll confess, I haven't finished Black Myth yet, however, I can already say that it is a very good game, potentially even a great one. This category was one I could really see a lot of different opinions on though, since I also played and loved Space Marine 2, but Warhammer's still a bit niche, even if it is less so than before. This one could be a real toss-up, but we all know the real winner should have been Kaiju Princess 2. Overwhelmingly positive. The musical performances were also great this year, though I was disappointed I didn't get to see Loaded Diaper in their first live tour since their legal troubles in 2007. Snoop Dogg is always great, 21 Pilots, though I haven't yet watched season 2 of Arcane, and the orchestra's the flute guy. Yeah, fuck him up. From the developers behind It Takes Two, Split Fiction is It Takes Two 2. I love that secondary purchases and microtransactions have become so standardized for major releases that developers feel the need to assure us when there won't be any in their game. I love the games industry. I love this guy though. It's always nice to see someone who actually gives a shit about making games, as opposed to whoever the fuck runs companies like Epic and Activision Blizzard who seem to care about having as little identity as possible in their games. Well, let's just make this into a giant amorphous blob that doesn't really have anything it can call its own. Just throw everything in. Nah, fuck that. Make a game that does one thing better than everyone else. I'll probably pick up Split Fiction. The idea of switching between fantasy and sci-fi levels as you progress the game sounds intriguing, and since plenty of the misbegotten also like the trailer, I'll have someone to co-op with. Also, thank God for showing gameplay. Not just gameplay, mind you, this madman showed off and talked about 3 separate levels. What a guy. CDPR decided to throw their proverbial hats back in the ring this time around with a trailer for The Witcher 4. I would discuss this trailer, however, since there was no gameplay, or story for that matter, I'll just have to wait and see. After the Donner dinner party level oopsie that was Cyberpunk 2077's launch, I sure as shit ain't pre-ordering it, but my confidence that CDPR can make a good video game is still there for the most part. And also, I don't want to repeat myself, so for complaints that Ciri looks different in the trailer, see the Intergalactic section. Also, like, Geralt's look has changed in every Witcher game, so what gives? Stop whining about this. You're a grown-ass adult. Unless you're a kid, in which case, you should probably be in school, keeping your distance from YouTubers. And the Game of the Year award goes to Stellar Blade, go fuck yourself, and if you disagree, I hope you end up living in Serbia. Astrobot winning Game of the Year. Well, I didn't play it, so I can't really say if it deserved it or not. I mean, I've heard positive things about it, but it never really struck me as Game of the Year material, but hey, what do I know? Just keep in mind that it's possible for something to both be a walking advertisement and a great product. Just look at Top Gun. I left it for last. the one game that needs close inspection. Night Rain. Well, as it happens, I was sent a message telling me to play it. The message included a link as well. So, I dove in, did my time, pushed myself, and, after playing it, I can confidently say the combat mechanics are incredibly unique among the games I've played, and the soundtrack combined with the simplistic yet charming design of the world and characters really pulls you into the experience. And along with being surprisingly humorous, what to say about Elden Ring Night Rain? Well, for starters, it is decidedly not what any of us would have expected from a FromSoft trailer. A co-op multiplayer, roguelike, class-based action game. A director who is not Miyazaki. I mean, remember last time the time before last time they did that? Dark Souls 2 shook the world like a mistreated infant. Every death in 2014, including but not limited to Joe Cocker, was a direct result of Dark Souls 2. In all seriousness, From have said there won't be microtransactions, they've said they will give the game plenty of support, and they even said it'll be $40, so maybe it's not what everyone wants, but the world isn't ending, people. The asset reuse thing does scare me a bit, but let's be real here, that's kind of From Software's MO at this point. I think that FromSoft, out of anyone in the games industry, has more than earned the benefit of the doubt here. Trust me, if they go back on this stuff or the game turns out to be incomplete on release or just outright garbage, I will absolutely take a hot, steaming shit on Junya Ishizaki's carpet. But for now, I'll just let myself be excited because frankly, FromSoft is really the last studio I can do that with. Also, it's got Sans. 'Cause we're gonna shout it.